Hey ladies, welcome. Make sure to like the video as you come on in. Let me know if you guys can hear me clearly. Let me see. How are you guys doing? Hold on, let me just check. Okay. Okay, so how's it going, ladies? How have you guys been? I wanted to go live to talk about something because, you know, the more I am in these YouTube streets, Clubhouse, online, I'm coming across a lot of people, particularly like certain men, right? Who are frustrated and aggravated with the fact that women are finally being heard, or finally being heard, but being taken seriously, that we have such a heavy influence, right? Um, and I wanted to tell you, ladies, like why exactly the influence of the female voice is so important, and why a lot of men who are desirable, who are at the top, who are in charge, they're actually not going to have a problem with this. So, as you ladies probably have seen, or you probably know of, what's her name? The show The Real got canceled, right? So it got canceled. I don't know why. And Lonnie Love had some things to say that she was, going to be out of a job or something. Um, and so a lot of men that commented on this, they were happy that she was going to be out of a job, right? They were happy that she no longer is going to have a platform, and just the real in general is going to be canceled because they say not so good things about men, especially Lonnie Love. Like the black men feel that, she is always coming for them all of the time on the show about things that they're doing or not doing. And I want to just tell you guys why exactly, like, there's certain men who are upset about that, and why men at the top are never gonna just not allow or accept that women have their own platforms to speak. Right, Michelle? Yeah, you already know it's because she's with a white dude. And they, obviously they get in their feelings when they see a white man with a black woman, especially a black woman that they deemed like not desirable, right? So let me explain a few things to you guys. Let me just explain. Hey, ladies coming in, please make sure to like the video. Let me explain some things. So, first and foremost, you know, women are never going to just not be able to be heard, right? And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why, just in general, women have a lot of influence, a lot of power, and our voice and what we want matters, regardless of what these men on here are going to say. And it matters because women are the biggest consumers, right? Women consume way more than men, and we always have, even before feminism, even when women couldn't even work like that and weren't even making money like that, and everybody was a housewife. While the men were at work during those times and the women stayed home, the women were consuming. They were at home at the store, they were at home watching daytime television. So, television shows that center and cater women are never going to stop. They're never going to stop. Women are never going to not go on TV and they're never going to just not talk about their experiences with men. We had Oprah, a daytime television show. The reason why Oprah was so popular is because so many women watched her show, and so many women were watching her show because they catered to them. They had the means to, and they had an interest. Women consume. That's just in our nature. We consume, we rest, we nest, we nurture, and because of that, we need things. We consume things and we get things. And a lot of men don't understand this, and so it's aggravating when men come on the internet and say they finally have this voice and they're speaking out about things. Women have always had the control over, what is being said and what's being heard. And women have had that control because they're the consumers. Men are consuming. Real men that have real work to do are not going to be watching daytime television. They're not going to be doing that. So the men who have nothing to do are clearly keeping up with everything women are doing because they have nothing else that they need to worry about. They have nothing else of value um, that is worth their time, that is worth their energy. And so Lonnie Love is saying that she's going to be out of a job and the reel is over. But did you guys also know that Jennifer Hudson is going to have her own show this fall as well? She's having her own talk show now, from my understanding. It was just announced like not too long ago, and it's going to be on a Fox. Let me share my screen with you guys so you guys can see this. But it's going to be on a Fox like network. So what I was in a comment section um, with some men that were talking about Lonnie Love and how they're all saying, "Oh, it's about time she got off of television. She's always talking about black men and all of this stuff." And I said, "You may be happy that Lonnie Love is off of the screen and so is the real, but this is just a cycle of women's voices being heard. There's always going to be women on TV. It's just a cycle, right? Like Oprah has done. The Ellen show came up or whatever. Ellen, I think, she's probably going to end soon if she hasn't already. I think they announced that she's going to end. Or Wendy Williams got canceled or something like that. Like all these shows are getting canceled. Oh, let me get rid of this. But also, so many other new shows for Black women are coming on. They're coming on, and so all of the men were just so happy that Black women's voices are no longer being heard, but they actually are. And we're going to see an influx of Black women speaking out and making sure their voices are heard, right? And the men who are in charge, the men who are actually desirable and wanted and have some real value, real legitimate high value men, are not going to have a problem with this. Actually, they're going to welcome it. They're going to welcome it wholeheartedly. And the thing is I've said this before, right? Like men can't complain about what's going on because they literally run everything. Men somewhere run everything. So men who are upset at women for being in charge and being the ones who are, or I wouldn't say in charge, but they have a heavy influence with these corporations and with these media companies that are executively ran by men, right? The ones that are ran by men, they're hiring women to speak because women are the one consuming. Like, nobody is going to watch a daytime television show with just a man unless he's some kind of professional like Dr. Phil, or what's that guy's name, Dr. Oz or something. Like, they had shows, but these were men of value. Like, they're only going to put men on their of value. Like, men in the manosphere swear that they're going to be mainstream, and they're sadly mistaken. They're not going to be mainstream the way that Black women are going mainstream. Not even by a long shot. Not even by a long shot. They're not going mainstream. They're not going mainstream because their message is not relatable to the masses, right? Like, that's why the Black manosphere even got created, because they could not relate to the white manosphere. The manosphere was originally white, and then the Black men broke off because they just weren't relatable to the white manosphere, or couldn't relate to them. Right, True Mystique, Nick Cannon's show got canceled. Like, no man, like, that's the, and you know what? The only thing that they can do to be heard is have YouTube and podcasts. That's about it. They can't have anything else, but none of them are going to get as big as Joe Rogan, who has like what, a multi-million-dollar deal or something with Spotify to keep going. He even got Joe Rogan even got for saying the N word, and he still didn't get canceled. And he's still making episodes. Like, the men at the top are not bothered by women being on the platforms. And one show gets canceled of a woman speaking, it's just a matter of time before another one gets regenerated. And but however, it's not the same like that for men. The men in this space, the only thing they'll have access to is podcast and YouTube, which is nothing that is special and or exclusive, because anyone can get on a microphone. Anyone can get on a microphone, and anyone can get on YouTube, right? Like, that's about it. Steve Harvey is a good one. He is a good one, but his audience caters to women a lot. He does have like topics on men, but his audience is the way it is because he has a large woman audience. Like, his audience is majority woman. He did Think Like a Man. Like, his whole entire brand is catered more towards women than anything else. And I know you said Joe Mattis, but that's an educated man. So I brought up men of value, men that have some kind of credentials, like Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil. Those are the types of men who are going to be on TV and have the power of staying long, but because they have a field that they're expert in. I'm talking about men that are just in the manosphere that just want to get up on here to get up on here. They're not going to reach Steve Harvey, and they're not going to reach Steve Harvey level because they're not catering to women in the things that they say in the manosphere and red pill. And they're not going to be on the level of Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, and the male judges because they're not professionals. And it is what it is. And I've never watched Nick Cannon's show. I have no idea what the heck he would even talk about. But yeah, that definitely got canceled. I feel like after 2 or 3 months. Like, who watches, who even, I didn't even know what channel that came on. Like, and I have cable at my house. Like, I have cable at my house. Yes, True Mystique. Like, Steve Harvey is very, very female identified, and that's why a lot of men dislike him and don't consider Steve Harvey a representation for Black men. Like, they don't claim him as like their representative. Like, they claim Kevin Samuels as their representative, but Steve Harvey is, he has a past as well, right? Like, he has multiple marriages, but one thing you can say about him is that he's currently in a marriage with a nice big blended family. I mean, compared to how he used to be, he's definitely, from what it seems like, playing out who he portrays himself to be on his show. Like, the advice he gives to men and women, he seems like he's living that currently now with Marjorie Harvey, right? So he's more of a what he's putting himself to be more of a healthy embodiment of masculinity that women are attracted to, but these men are not. These men aren't. And I've touched on this in so many other lives, that the men who have a problem with seeing men, quote unquote, simp, those are the men who are constantly rejected and social rejects. Because in my simp video, I said that the men that they call simps are technically the men who are in charge, who make a lot of money, who have families. Like, those are men that they call simps. They don't call like, they have their definition for what a simp is, but it doesn't match the very men that they call simps. Like Russell Wilson, he's a married man. He was at one point, what, one of the most highest earning football players at some point, and they called him a simp. And he he's a whole family man, and he makes the most money. Like, they called him a simp. I know white men were calling Jeff Bezos the billionaire beta, but like, you already know about Jeff Bezos now. Like, come on, like, they, the very men that they call simp and beta are the men who are in charge, are the men who make a lot of money, who have families, whose woman is happy with them. Like Jeff Bezos, he got his divorce and he ended up with another woman, but the woman he is with now is obviously very satisfied with him, and she's an older woman with a kid. So they're calling men betas and simps that that are completely against the actual definition, because the actual definition of a simp is a man who's just like this sorry loser who puts woman before himself and his purpose. But who they call a simp is the complete opposite of that. Who they call a simp is the men who are on their purpose of having families, protecting and providing, and put their families first. And I don't know how many of you ladies are um Christian and or spiritual, but I've read the Bible, like I've read the New Testament like 3 times. I grew up in a church family, so I was always reading the Bible growing up. And the Bible says that the end times men are going to become lovers of themselves. And I really believe that we're kind of starting to see this play out a lot, especially here on YouTube, of men who are calling other men simps, beta, and weak, because they are putting their families first. And the men who are against that are the men who are lovers of themselves. Like all of these red pill communities, they just teach men to keep the chase going with women and to never offer a woman emotional security, such as Fresh and Fit. Fresh and Fit is not a they are not men you should listen to for relationship advice, for long-term relationship advice. The dark skinned one, he did say he's been married before, which I was shocked. And he claimed that he is monogamous and he wants one woman at a time. But the other lighter skinned, tall, bald looking one, he has been in a relationship in years, and he's Muslim, and he claims because of his religion he can have multiple wives. However, he does not practice being a Muslim. Like, he only uses the religion card when it comes to having multiple women. He's not like praying or reading the sorry, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I don't know a lot of the Muslim texts, but he doesn't read any of that. Like, he doesn't practice the religion at all, but he's claiming it as an excuse as to why he can have multiple wives, which, by the way, is illegal here in the United States. You can't have multiple spouses. So they teach men, though, how to basically never give your woman emotional security. Therefore, she will always be chasing your validation, and that will keep her from leaving you, or keep her from thinking that you're not a man of value anymore, which will make her want to leave you. Like, they teach the men to keep her wanting to chase your validation, chase your approval, so that the woman doesn't leave, because they're looking at all of these statistics as to women initiating divorce, which, by the way, guys, is actually false. All right. All of the divorce statistics that they've been saying are false, and they actually also need to be broken down. So, in the divorce statistics, the women who are filing divorce are women who are either working and doing all of the housework at the same time, and the child rearing. So that means they're really stressed in their marriage. If you are a woman and you get married over the age of 25, you also have a man that is a 100% provides and pays all the bills, to the point where you don't have to work, or you can just do whatever you want to do in the home and for him and the kids. If you have a man that just does those two things, and also you have your college degree, those three things alone, you are a woman who is the least likely to file for divorce. And especially if you have a master's or a PhD, you're even way down at the bottom of the list to file. The least likely. Not saying it'll never happen with these types of women, but that's the women who file the least. But everything that the men say in the manosphere and in Red Pill is completely against all of those three things that guarantee a woman will stay, not guarantee, but most likely to have a woman stay in a relationship long term. They want women under the age of 30, right? They don't even like you focusing on school. They have a problem with your PhD and with your education, right? And a lot of them think that some women should be 50-50, or that a lot of women don't qualify for a guy who's a provider, that you need to be a size zero and all this other stuff. And if you guys have been looking at my community tab, I've been posting pictures of black brides, right? And if you look at these women, do you believe that if they were to go to the manosphere for some type of advice on how to get a man, do you think that the manosphere and the pygmishas would tell them anything along the lines of, um, encouraging that they would get a husband? Like, can you imagine if they went over there and listened to the crazy things that they would have to say, especially for one of the ladies I posted who's a little bit more of a thicker sized woman, a thicker sized black woman? They would definitely tell her, oh, yeah, you're not, you have to lose 100 pounds or something crazy. But she has a whole husband, and her husband, obviously he ain't black, but they look so happy and in love together. And can you imagine if she went over there to listen to that? She wouldn't have even met her match. So, the things that women have to say, the things that women have to say are way more important than the things that men have to say, because women are consuming everything. So if you are a woman and you have a voice and a lot of women are agreeing with you, you have a more likely chance of becoming more popular, making more money, and getting mainstream than the men who are saying things only men want to hear, because men are going to consume all of that stuff in the mainstream world. The mainstream world for men is made up usually more of corporate executives and men that are actually in the business. Um, and then on the flip side is that is women who are actually on the forefronts, in the media and talk shows and on radio shows and stuff like that. Like, it's not a lot of men that have either no credentials and aren't in the business side that are in mainstream. It's not a lot. What can we say, rappers and 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 athletes, but rappers are rapping things and making money uh off of the white executives. Like, they're not like some of them, right? Like the big ones that are signed to big record labels. Those are all ran by non-black men in the executive board. And I don't know much about the music industry, but I know every time like someone releases an album, they have to play the album in front of the whole entire executive board or something like that. So in order for the album to be released, it has to be approved and all this other stuff. Um, and that could be that. I mean, we see artists say like they have music they want to release, but they can't do it because of their label, right? So not even those types of men with those kinds of microphones have the power to release whatever it is they want, right? They only can release the things that will produce numbers, which is only reported to them by the men who are in the executive leadership boards. Mostly the record labels, they're the ones who handle all that marketing and all that data, right? So hold on, let me see what you guys are saying. Yeah, I've never watched Nick Cannon's show. Like, I literally don't know what he would even be talking about. Like, who would even I mean, I know he has a podcast, right? Doesn't he have a podcast? But he is a perfect example of a man who attempted to go mainstream, kind of like some of the men in the manosphere who just started his own like media platform type of thing and wanted to give like a man's perspective on stuff and a black man's outlook, and it didn't work. He got canceled. And the thing is though is there's no runner up black men that they're going to choose. Now, if they want to talk about Lonnie Love, um, and say that, and the real how that is probably going to get canceled, they didn't confirm it, but there's already new black women in the running to be the next daytime talk show host. Like, it's never going to end. There is never going to be a time where there's no woman on TV with voices being heard. That's never going to happen, because women are always going to be the ones consuming media the most, and buying things the most, and they're most comfortable listening to other women before they are listening to strange men that they don't know and have never heard of. That and also, majority of women can't relate to men and vice versa. So why would women want to watch them all day? It just wouldn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Masculinity nowadays is really in the mind. Brawn, for the most part, by itself nowadays is kind of useless. They're jealous of these men. That's why, yeah, they are jealous. Oh my gosh, hey Lumi, you guys check out her channel. She is amazing in like everything she says. She said they always speak about men they don't even have enough credentials to sit with. Yes, exactly. You know what else? Like, I was in a clubhouse room earlier today, and a girl like made a room about, and I followed her on Clubhouse for a while, so she's kind of like a Clubhouse friend for me. But she posted a room saying that the men on Clubhouse are always cyberbullying her, right? And this girl is like, she's 24, she's engaged, her man is not black, but he's very, very wealthy. I mean, she is always traveling. Chanel this, Gucci that, G Wagon. Yes, y'all. Like, she has it going on. She has it going on. And her fiance takes very, very, very good care of her. And the men on Clubhouse are just so upset about the fact that she's living this lifestyle. They can't stand it. And she creates rooms on Clubhouse telling women to, also divest and up your standards and, all of those things, and to be hypergamous. Like, she is fully living the hypergamy lifestyle to a T. And that's what she talks about. And the men are always coming in there judging her and feeling some type of way. And it's just like, the men who got it have no reason to complain. They have no reason to say anything. And the men who don't are the ones who are the loudest. And that is because the men who got it are very secure in their resources. They have no reason to relish in putting women in their place. They have no reason for that. And, a lot of the things that we're saying in that room, the girls were saying, the men will curse you out. They'll talk all kinds of crazy nonsense about your lifestyle and the things you want, and they will have the most to say. And they do this all online. So it's like, can you imagine if you met any of them in real life and you dated them and you even got married to them? Like, they're already doing that online to women they don't even know. Can you imagine what they would be doing to like a woman that they're dating, that they're sharing intimate relationship with, right? And then even to think about marriage, because marriage, when you marry someone and you're seeing these red flags, it's not going to get better. Like, it's just going to get worse. Like, marriage amplifies everything times like 5 to 10. It's not a walk in the park. And these angry men that, I mean, I don't know how many of you ladies even go on Clubhouse, but these angry men will yell and scream in their microphones over women that are making it clear they don't even want them. Like, all the divestors that be on Clubhouse, these men be out here losing their mind over the fact that you don't want them, over the fact that you demand better, right? Like, I even said on stage, I was like, I would rather be the rich auntie forever than to settle for a complete dusty, erratic, crazy man. Like, I would never. There's no amount of money that you can pay me to settle for that. Like, hell to the no. Hell to the no. Right? And so these men get so upset about men, that they don't even know. And the men with those types of credentials wouldn't even surround themselves around those types of men, right? Because they already know how those types of men get down. The thing about men in general is that men know other men way more than women could ever know other men, right? We may be only able to know our man, and sometimes we may surprise at some of the things our man may do. But other men, they're never going to be surprised. They're never going to be shocked. They already understand other men. And so they already know which men to classify as like the bottom and the men that they classify as productive. And they even say this in the manosphere. Kitten Heels already says that the men are the ones who set the values and the ranks, especially for other men. That's why he's able to state which men are valuable and desirable. Men already classify each other, and that's because they know other men the best. So those men who are at the quote unquote bottom are never going to surround or I'm sorry, the ones who are at the top are never going to surround themselves with the one at the bottom. And like if you ladies have ever like been watching any manosphere videos, if they've just so happened to pop up, there's actually been plenty of like quote unquote civil wars in the manosphere between the Pookies and the actual high value dudes. And the Pookies dislike Kevin Samuels and dislike Obsidian and all those high value guys because the Pookies believe that they're jealous of the fact that Pookie can get the girl and, you know, has the swag, has the game, and the high value guys were all just educated lame rejects that are still, you know, still upset over women even though they have all this money. So they talk about the stuff that's happening in the BWE space, but they definitely have things going on over there that is that's nowhere that's that's nowhere near kind of like what's happening in BWE space or what has happened, because that's like an ongoing thing. Like they're always kind of talking about each other over there. They're always talking about each other over there. And I've even taken the time to like listen to both different sides, and I agree with what both sides have to say about each other. Like I'm in agreement that when they say the Pookies are crazy, I clearly believe that. And when they say the high value men's is crazy, I clearly believe that. But the real men who are good men are not online, or if they do, they just so happen to be online, they're not the ones quick to make a comment and yell at women and scare them off. Like those men aren't. There's been plenty of men that have DM'd me on my platform talking about I hear everything and I see everything, non-black men too, and have actually said like I see everything and I can't believe it. You know, I've posted on my community tab that Reddit thread I did where non-black people are starting to notice the misogynoir of black men, right? And then we have articles. We have the L article, right? And then I don't know if you guys are on a certain content creator's live today. She's very popular, and she revealed a new article about incel violence. So real men are starting to see what's going on, and I'm gonna talk about that a little bit in a minute as well, because that also ties into the topic of this live on women having a voice. And guys, the main thing about women being consumers and why our voice is important, if women are the ones whose main voice is in the media, like we have a big voice in the media because that means we're controlling what women consume as women, right? We have a lot of control over things in general, right? So black men can say whatever they want about their image, but their voices are not going to be as loud as black women's, because black women consume more than black men do. And black women at large are going to be listening to what other black women have to say as far as opinions, what's good and what's not, before they're going to listen to men that they don't even know, that they can't even relate to, simply because they're men and because they're from who knows where, doing who knows what. And you know, women are the weaker beings. We're not going to listen to men, to people that can, that have the power to oppress us and have oppressed us. We're going to listen to people that we actually can relate to, which is other black women, right? So that's why the Tina documentary is such a big deal and was such a big deal with black women, because she's using her voice, knowing that a lot of other black women are going to see this, probably more so than black men, because you know, she's a black woman, or she, I don't know, that's what she claims, she looks mixed or whatever, but or she is mixed. But it's such a big deal because she's using her voice to promote something that at large a lot of black women cannot relate to what she is promoting and what she's trying to do. Like they can't relate to a lot of black women can't relate to not having experienced violence from a black man, right? Like they can't relate to that. So it's not going to be received very well. I mean it's probably going to be watched more by black women, but a lot of black women aren't going to watch it because they can't relate to it, right? Especially with the petition. And Lexus Exodus posted that article that might get published soon, right? That she posted on her community tab. So, black women are going to listen to and get influenced by other black women before black men. Women, period. The only way as a man they can have any type of real quote unquote influence is if they get to that executive corporate level seat. If they can't get on that executive board team, they don't really have any power the way that women have power. Because women have beauty, right? If you're a woman who's easy on the eyes, they'll put you on TV and they'll let you pretty much say whatever the heck it is you want. If you're because you're gaining views by your looks, which is going to make the guys on the corporate team money. So they're not going to take you off screen, right? Lonnie Love and Wendy Williams and all these shows are getting canceled not because no one's really like I don't want to say no one's watching them. I don't know the data behind it, but not because it's not an enjoyable show for a lot of women, but because they want a new face. They want something new. There's always like a new girl who's going to come up on the block. So they're giving Jennifer Hudson her first daytime talk show. And I believe Kelly Clarkson has her talk show. Um, I think her talk show's kind of new, right? It's not like it hasn't been around that long. And what's the other girl? Drew Barrymore, I think she has a talk show too. Like these women that are kind of new in the talk show space. Yeah, the Drew Barrymore show. She just had her show in 2020. And what's the other one? Gwyneth Paltrow, like she has something out on Netflix. It's like a show about her brand Goop. I think that just recently came out. Like there's always going to be some stuff coming out where it's women speaking and it's going to get popular because other women are consuming and watching it. It's not a lot of shows by men that gotten popular from solely men watching like that. Tell me a show where it was a man who ran it, who was the host, and it got popular because majority of men were watching. Tell me what show that is, because I truly don't know. I've never heard of that. But that if there isn't, then that's the reason why the man's voice is not very it's not going to be heard. Yeah, Tamron Hall. Um, all these new shows. There's always going to be a new girl on the block, black, white, whatever. Like they're always going to give black women a show. They're always going to give white women a show. Like they're always going to allow women to have these voices because women are inspirational and influential more so than men. Men are good at the business side. And as the man, you don't have a real power or a say in anything if you're not on that executive team. So when I see the men on here complaining about how they don't believe their voices are getting heard and all this stuff in the media, well, duh, like men have had these opportunities. They could have had the opportunity to be like this, but they don't consume. They don't consume. Men don't care to like sit around. Real men, real masculine men, they don't care to sit around and hear another guy speak all day, right? Like Kevin Samuels is popular because he's appealing to those men that actually aren't in any real power. That's why. And that happens to be a lot of black men. Keep in mind, if you ever went to his videos and browse through the comments, it's majority what color have been commenting. It's majority of black men. That's his niche, that's his audience. And a lot of them, the unfortunate truth is a lot of black men don't have that time to be, or they don't have those opportunities to be on those executive boards and do anything like that. So their power can only be in online, talking about women, trying to have a battle of the voices. battle of the voices like between men and women. And when I saw that they're contemplating that Kevin Samuels is gonna go mainstream, I cackled. Like, no, he is never gonna go mainstream. He went on Future's music video or whatever. That's not mainstream. Future is not mainstream. So many people, the sad truth is, guys, black artists, they're not mainstream, guys. Like, this is why Taylor Swift be winning all the awards off of over Beyonce and all that. Those people, you have to be mainstream to those people. They are the majority. Stop thinking that these people aren't going to go mainstream if majority of their audience is black. Like, it is the unfortunate truth. It's the system we live in. If you can't appeal to everyone, if you can't talk to everyone, you can't expect majority support from everyone. Like, it is what it is. So if you're going to make content, be an artist, whatever it is, you have to be content with the audience that you're attracting. BWE creators, from my understanding, BWE creators, it's not their mission to end up on TV and to be like mainstream and to appeal to white women and to appeal to Latinas and Asian women, right? The mission of BWE creators is to appeal to black women, right? But the men over there, for some reason, the black manosphere is a little delusional because they want to be mainstream, which means that they want to appeal to men of other races. They actually are, because yeah, we were mainstream when Motown was around, of course. But even when Motown was around, the music was clean, right? Like, today's black music is, the black artist, the rap artist, that music is not clean. That music is not clean. Dave Chappelle is mainstream. Yeah, Dave Chappelle was mainstream. Let me see. He was mainstream. Yeah, but if I think about white comedians, I would say like Adam Sandler, and who are some other like, they were a little bit more bigger because they were in all, Adam Sandler was in all those movies, Waterboy. Like, I think the white creators, they were a lot more mainstream. They were a lot more mainstream. And the Rock is technically a black man. I thought he was Pacific Islander myself, but The Rock, he appeals to white people. So I'm talking about comedians, artists that appeal to black people but are mainstream. And that's not a big thing. I wouldn't consider Kevin Hart too mainstream. Um he's done a little bit more work. He's done a lot of black movies. I haven't seen him in a lot of movies where there's a lot of white people. I haven't seen that. Yeah, country music is cleaner. See, when the clean music, right, I thought he was Samoan too. I thought he was Samoan. But when the clean music was popping, so the Motown era, yes, that appealed to white people. But white people, even today, don't care to listen about gang violence and shooting up the club. Like, they can't relate to that. They can't relate to that. That's not their culture. Like, they can't do it. And you guys know that they can't do it. That's why Taylor Swift be winning everything. She be winning everything. Ariana Grande, like, come on, y'all. Like, we can't sit here and believe that, right? So, there aren't a lot of black people that are going mainstream while having a message that is predominantly appealing to other black people. Like, even, the comedians. Like, the comedians are black and they've been in front of white people, but their comedy is most relatable to other black people. Versus like a lot of white comedians. I know a lot of white people. I mean, I know a lot of black people that love Adam Sandler's movies, that they thought The Water Boy was hilarious. Like, I'm talking about people like that are appealing to everyone, right? So, the black manosphere is never going to go mainstream. They can complain about how their voices are not heard as much as they want, but it's not going to go anywhere outside of YouTube and rappers and athletes and just other black people with money, right? Like, black media is like, we have our own like media. Like, we have media that other people, we have things in our media that other people that are not black have never really heard of, right? Like, it's true. But there's a lot of white artists that Black people have heard of, but it's not the other way around at sometimes, other than the main ones that are hot right now. Um, White people know about Meg the Stallion, they know about City Girls, they know about I've met some white people that have never heard of Sweetie, the rapper Sweetie. They know about Migos, right? They know about things like those types of artists, I would say, they've hit mainstream in terms of like mainstream platforms and stages where white people heard about them, but they're not reoccurringly in white media and Hispanic and Asian media. Like they're not reoccurring in there. And I could say the same for Black media. Like Taylor Swift does not get played in Black, predominantly Black areas. But when it's like those award shows that include all types of artists and all types of people, it's a lot of white people that have won over Black people that we thought was really mainstream. But no, like they won. Like when Taylor Swift won over Beyonce, the entire everybody was shocked. And Kanye went up there and acted a fool, but everybody was shocked because, like, how you gonna win over Beyonce? But that just goes to show you who's really mainstream and what mainstream really looks like, and how important it is to be able to appeal to everyone if you want your message if you want to be mainstream. So the Black manosphere wants to be mainstream. It's never going to happen. Number one, they had to branch off from the regular manosphere to create their own manosphere in the first place. So that's just the simple fact they had to do that is a sign that they'll never be mainstream. They'll never be able to appeal to white people. Like it's never going to happen. So those are a lot of reasons why, particularly Black men, their voices are not going to be as strong as the Black woman's voice, as the woman's voice in general. Women are consuming, and they are not they're not going to want to consume Kevin Samuel's daytime TV all day. They're just not. And it is what it is. So let me show you guys. So I'm going to show you guys the article that, we'll just talk about it a little bit. Well, let me drop the link if anyone wants to come up. Because I'm really tired of, well, I wouldn't say I'm like tired, but it's just really weird. It's just really weird how men are trying to compare their voices to women in a way, and by being proud that women are getting off of TV and their shows are getting canceled, and they lack the range to understand that women are always going to be on TV. That's never going to end. And as long as they keep going through crappy experiences with men and they want to talk about those experiences, well, then men will be a topic that they talk about, especially Black women. So, one way that Black men can change their image is, for instance, just being better men. But ultimately, with the amount of Black women in the media, in mainstream media, using their voice, Jennifer Hudson is having a daytime talk show with Fox, which is a mainstream media network. The more Black women keep getting into stuff like this, the more it's going to be harder for the image of Black men to be changed, because these women have had their experiences like a lot of us Black women have, and they're going to talk about it. So it's going to probably take a few generations um, for this to really change for them. It's just the unfortunate truth. And hey, if these men want to get out here in the world and act the way they act, and be how they want to be, those are going to be like the consequences. We have it pinned. So I have the link dropped if anybody wants to come on. Okay. Yeah, so Jennifer Hudson's getting her new show, guys. I'm actually kind of interested to see her show, because I know that she's, I think she's lived a pretty I think she's lived a pretty like interesting life. Like she's been through things, and I don't know, it would just be I'm interested in hearing like her life story, her perspective and all that. Yeah, that's true too. They also ruin their image with gangster rap. I think before anyone can blame black women about the black man's image, they're definitely going to look at what black men are talking about on their own time. That's good and all, but will she be a blessing for? You know what? Time will tell. I don't know if she's said anything crazy about black women before this, and I loved her music and things like that. So I'm hoping that she will be a blessing for black women and she'll be really relatable to like a lot of black women. But I hope it's not a detriment. Sarah played in That's My Boy movie. Linnell played her mother. Oh, really? I've never even heard of that movie. Yep, urban mainstream is not mainstream. Yeah, it's not. Urban mainstream is not mainstream, and it's not mainstream for a reason because it's not relatable to the majority population of people. They don't live urban lifestyles. I mean, it's just, kind of just is what it is. Kind of is what it is. So, let me 2 decades after American Idol, Grammy and Oscar winner Jennifer Hudson. I didn't even read the article, guys. So much in my life. I've seen the highs of the highs, lows of the lows, just about everything in between. But as my mother always told me, once you think you've seen it all, just keep on living. People from around the world have been a part of my journey from the beginning 20 years ago, and I'm so ready to join their journey as we sit down and talk about the things that inspire and move us all. Yeah, so if that's how she's going into it, then I'm excited to see her show. I mean, I just love seeing a new black woman's face on TV and what they have to say. I think all of our stories are so unique and we can all learn something. So I'm excited for her show. I actually of all I actually wouldn't have thought Jennifer Hudson would have gotten a show, to be honest. But she was in that Aretha Franklin movie and it was so good. It was so good. All right, but let me show you guys this article too and why can you guys see it? Okay. So if you guys were in that live earlier, then you've seen this article already. But this is another reason as to why women's voices are going to keep getting louder, and desirable men, aka men at the top, are not going to have a problem with this. Um, the things that women say are going to shape the image of a lot of these spaces, particularly online, because these spaces target women, like these incel spaces, these manosphere spaces. They target women by talking about women all the time and critiquing women all the time. And so, yes, girl, this was just released yesterday at 5:04 p.m. Okay. Written by a woman. Let me see who she is. Oh, actually, it doesn't show her picture. But is she white? She is white, guys. I think this is her. Oh, there's just too many. I don't know. Staff writer. I'm sure she's white because the incel manosphere issue, it affects white women too. I've actually come across. Okay, yeah, this is her. I've come across. I'm gonna show you guys what she looks like. The woman who wrote this article. Really quick. Can you guys see this? Okay, that's her. That's the woman who wrote this article about the incel violence. And women like her, and women like her that have her type of voice are going to be the ones who control the media and control the image of the men that are online all damn day. Like, this woman is white, y'all. this woman is white. Like, you can't, no one can call black women crazy no more. Cause if once white women, Asian women start coming on board, it's once it's all women, we're more powerful when it's all women, to be honest. We like we have a voice on our own as black women, but the voice is extra large when it's all women can relate to it and can when the issue is relatable to all women, like, and so yeah, that's her. Hold on, let me show. So that's her, and she wrote this article. And the more that women get into these spaces and um report on this, the more they're gonna control the image of a lot of men, the men that are online, and Kevin Samuels. And I saw some other BWE creators talking about this, but the male YouTuber MTR, he had some kind of brand deal and it got dropped once he made a video with Kevin Samuels because a woman who is a feminist, I think she's white, sent a message to the company to let them know about him, and she said some stuff in it. And they dropped the branding deal with him, which was probably a lot of money, but he lost that deal. So women using their voice, you do have a part in the image of men. You have a part in these male images. So they can do two things can happen for the male image. They can, number one, they can be better men, and number two, women will start to have better things to say about the men. For the ones, people still coming in, hey, like this video, let me tell you why women's voices are so important. It's because women are the biggest consumers. And if women are telling other women, their opinions down to what you should buy, which products are the best in your hair, sales and numbers are going to skyrocket way before a man gets on here and says something. Women don't listen to random men in terms of like how they should live their lives as a woman. You don't go to a man to listen to that stuff. That's really the real reason why Kitten Heels and Kevin Samuels is not liked by women, because he's getting on the internet telling women how they need to look, how much they need to weigh, how they need to do their hair. Like, he's literally telling women how women should live as a man. And Steve Harvey doesn't do that. Steve Harvey talks about Steve Harvey, his message is kind of like the uncle or the father or whatever. Like, Steve Harvey will tell you things that maybe your dad will tell you, give you dating advice on, or your uncle or something. Steve Harvey's not going to tell you how you need to wear your hair. Like, that's not his core message like it is in the Black Manosphere. The Black Manosphere has a core message of telling women how to be, how to look, how to sit, how to stand, how to squat, how many squats you should be doing. Like, they want to literally recreate women. They want to play God and recreate women. And men like Steve Harvey, Dr. Oz, all those men that went mainstream, they don't do that. They don't. I mean, Dr. Oz is a whole doctor. So, right, I was saying earlier, like, in order for a man to be mainstream like that, you either have to be a man of expertise, Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, all those male judges, or you need to appeal to women. You need to play like father figure or brother figure or uncle, like Steve Harvey or something. Like, you can't just be a man with a mouth that wants to just talk about people all day and expect to go mainstream. Nick Cannon is an example of that. All these male podcasters, all they can do is just sign up for a podcast platform, which is free, and YouTube, which is free, and that's all they got. No mainstream media company is picking them up. That's not happening. That's not happening. And so those are the two things that can happen to improve the male image: men being better and women just having better things to say about men, because women's voices are louder in the media than it is men, because women are consuming. Women are the ones watching daytime television. Women are the ones who are, watching videos, makeup tutorials, and music. And one Black Manosphere creator, he made a video about this type of stuff, and he said that when men lose their branding deals, it's a big deal, because women get branding deals all the time. Female YouTube creators, they get deals from L'Oreal, free products to send to them, right? Like so many beauty influencers, they just get free stuff. Like some woman wanted to become an influencer just to get free stuff. Like there was a point in my life, way before all of this, that I wanted to be a beauty influencer just so I can get free hair. Like it just seemed too easy. It seemed too easy, right? Like I feel like everyone wanted to be one, right? And then you have, the main ones that like stuck it out and got the most numbers, but that doesn't happen in the black manosphere. And it's never going to happen because men don't consume like women do. They just don't. They don't. Women have the voice. Women get all the branding deals. Like women are most inspirational. It's part of your femininity to be an inspirational woman. And your inspiration doesn't just fall on other men, it falls on other women too. Women inspire other women to buy things, to switch up their style. I mean, all these little things, it's you do get inspired to do stuff like that, to redecorate, to read books. Like it's just how it goes. Like I never see men in comment sections in that space talking about what should I buy for this, what should I do for this, unlike women who are like, what products do you use and do you have any book recommendations? Like I see more comments like that coming from women than I do men. Therefore, that kind of proves that men are not the inspirational ones and their voices are not going to be heard the same way because of it. The only way men can have this type of control that they desire is if they compete to be men sitting on those executive boards, to be men sitting at the top, to be the men in the corporate world, behind the scenes, right? Like to be the man that signs the check for the makeup artist to do the woman's face before she goes on TV. Like that's the real way these men could have some kind of control, but they just don't get it. They don't get it. They don't want to compete, right? But for this article, for this article, um, she is already painting these men to be violent and undesirable. And there is evidence in data that shows men who were on these online groups and forums committing murders, like school killings and stuff. And I was actually reading the article earlier, and there was a man. Was it on this one? He was an incel man. Yes, Scott Paul. I do not know how to say his last name. Biari. He went to a yoga studio and took out a few women and wrote a 70,000 word fantasy titled "Rejected Youth" about a serial killer who targets women only. This man wrote this rejected youth like manifesto story, 70,000 words, and then goes on to enter in a yoga studio and takes out the women that were in that studio. And that he said he left, then he took himself out. And then he said in the note, if I can't find one decent female to live with, I will find many indecent females to die with. Tell me that ain't crazy. And guys, I don't know what race this man was, by the way. But this happens to men of every race. I mean, this happens to men of every race. But I was watching. Let me show y'all this too. Of a black man in New York. You guys probably did hear about this, but he went up to a Asian 67-year-old Asian woman and just started punching her. Just started punching her out of nowhere. She was trying to get into her apartment and he started punching her, sucker punched her from the back, and then continued to punch her like 100 something times or whatever. And she suffered bleeding in her brain. And he was a criminal. He had like a record and all of that. Sorry, I'm trying to also find. That was in New York. 70,000 is a white. Right, TGB. Yeah, it probably is a white man because child ain't no black man writing those 70,000. He crazy. No, that doesn't happen. I'm sorry. That does not happen. Is that the man, Elegant Empress, that I'm talking about in New York, who killed or who took out, or not took out, but he was punching that Asian woman? I'm sure he was a Black Manosphere fan. So, the more that these women read about these stories and talk about it, that is going to damage the image no matter what documentary comes out. Like, that's going to damage the man's image, especially for the Black man. Doesn't matter what documentary comes out, doesn't matter what statistic you even put out. None of that stuff even matters because uh, when women speak and share their experiences that are relatable on some way to another woman, that is going to be the loudest. That is going to be the loudest. Let me see. Here it is. Okay, let me share this with you guys too. So this is the man who started punching this Asian woman just out of the blue. A New York man faces 2 felony hate crime charges after allegedly hitting a 67-year-old Asian woman over 125 times. For no reason, guys. No reason at all, y'all. Like, he just started hitting on her. This just happened like on Monday, 2 days ago. New York is crazy. I don't know what's going on with these men in New York, but it was caught. The whole thing was caught on video, guys. You can look it up on YouTube. Um, he has all types of. He has a record. Let me try to find his record too. But he has a record. I don't even know why he's out on the streets. I don't even know why he's out on the streets, y'all, because it's like he yeah. So you guys can see this article, man arrested for the violent hate crime beating of an Asian woman in New York. Police. A New York man was arrested and charged with attempted murder after police say he violently punched a woman of Asian descent more than 125 times and allegedly used a racial slur against her. He called her an Asian B. The victim, a 67-year-old woman of Asian descent who was not identified by authorities, was returning to her apartment last Friday when she saw the suspect, later identified as 42-year-old Tamil Esco, in front of her building. As the victim walked past Esco, he called her an Asian B, police said in a news release. In a surveillance video released by the Yonkers Police Department, the video captures the victim ignoring Esco as she enters the vestibule of her apartment building. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. Obviously, this man is an incel. This man is a single man. Like, he's not a man. He is not a man that has a family, y'all. Men with families that are being loved by wives that are good men, they're not doing this. They're not doing this. 125 times. And he's still like he was, oh my gosh. 67-year-old Asian woman. Like, this stuff is starting to target women of other races. Other races of women are starting to speak out. And if you have all women on board with the person that has been your oppressor, has been the person who has been violent towards you, and you have other women that don't look like you, that don't come from your culture to speak up along with you, then that is something that is going to matter a lot. There's going to be some real change, and these women are now going to be the faces of women who tarnish the black male image. It's no longer going to be black women anymore. It's no longer going to be black women anymore because of non-black women keep coming out And speaking against this, and stuff like this keeps getting reported by the news, these non-black women are going to also be the ones to ruin the black male image. Like, a lot of BWE creators are saying that, black women shouldn't even feel some type of way about the documentary because the rest of the world already knows the deal and sees what it is. And they see this happening all of the time in the media. Like, this is almost every week, probably pretty much like every other day, maybe even every day at some times, um, where you see a black man in the news doing something crazy, hurting somebody, literally hurting someone. And it doesn't make any sense. But women's voices are, they're much louder than they're going to continue to get louder. And they're going to continue to get louder because violence against women is going up. Black femicide, that has went up from 2019. It skyrocketed in 2020. And then the numbers that the FBI reported, they can't even confirm that those are the actual numbers. They project that it's much worse. They're predicting that the numbers are much worse than what they even have. I mean, it's going to keep getting worse, right? And then we have the Elle article. We have the Elle article, which really, like, Elle is a mainstream magazine read strictly by women. I would say Elle is read more so by non-black women than it's read by black women. Elle is definitely like a more white, uh, Asian woman like type of magazine. It's not it's not read by it's not read by black women like that. And if they're posting, where is it? If they're posting these types of articles, if white women are posting these types of articles in their own magazines written by black women, you have allyship. This article showed that black women have allies. We do, because if we didn't, they wouldn't publish this. And I probably can already like tell that a lot of people who are on the corporate board, on the advisory board, or on those boards, what is that board called? Advisors board? Whatever. All those boards, with people really at the top, probably some men on there too. And I know that whatever gets published in this article, it has to be supported by them. That's what like that's what board of advisors, they like check things with the company, and they go over things so they can see which articles are getting a lot of traction, bringing in numbers and all this stuff, and they support it. So black women, we have allies big time in our voice, right? Like, no one wants us to be quiet except the people we're talking about. But the people we're talking about don't just affect us, they affect everyone else. And it's getting reported by all kinds of women. That Newsweek article about the incels was reported by a white woman. I just showed y'all her picture. We have mainstream media companies reporting about black men that are hurting people every single day and hurting non-black people. Like, we have allies. As much as they want to talk about black women are desirable this and we have these stereotypes against us, the stereotype we don't have against us is us being violent and taking people out for no reason. We don't have that stereotype. And I would rather have a stereotype of being fat and loud than to have a stereotype of taking people out just because I want to. Like, which stereotype would y'all rather have? I'd rather be fat and loud because at least I can lose weight and at least I can take some etiquette classes. But if I take out a life, I have to suffer lifelong consequences for that. And that's not something I can just easily try to like fix when it comes to me getting into those consequences with the law. That's not something I can fix. And it's coming to the point, like, how I said earlier about that black male content creator, MTR, and how he lost his branding deal once he got seen with Kevin Samuels, right, Michelle? The Elle magazine mentioned Kevin Samuels and other black manosphere channels. Yes. And it's getting to the point where, oh, did one of you guys call up? I didn't even see. I'm sorry. I think SZA called up. SZA, if you want to call back in, I'll have you on. Um, I was like looking at tabs, y'all. I'm sorry. But yes, the Black Manosphere and Kevin Samuels, if you get seen with them as a black male content creator, you're gonna lose your brand deals, or people are already gonna know what you're about. They're already gonna know what you're about. Like, there are women who support Kevin Samuels, but majority of a lot of women, I don't want to say majority. I really don't know, but a lot of women do not. A lot of women do not. There's been a lot of channels ran by women that started solely to be responding to Kevin Samuels, which are actually needed though. They're needed. Even if they started to respond to Kevin Samuels, they are needed because women need to hear women need to hear an alternative. We can't solely just be listening to foolishness. And the fact that there are channels emerging to respond to the manosphere is a sign that there is a problem. That there is a problem. I don't believe the men at the time really had a problem with Oprah, because why didn't they create a show for the men to counter the things that Oprah said? If it was really, if everything she was saying was just so wrong and not true and all this other stuff, they would have, number one, they would have taken her down if she was really out here just reporting a bunch of false narratives, like in stories and stuff. But she had real people on there talking about real experiences, and you can't tell people who go through real things that they're crazy for what they went through, like that their experience is crazy and not true. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense, right? And women have a voice, and they also have allies for that voice. And we have allies not just because our voices bring in numbers, but our voices say the truth, and they're relatable, and people want to hear relatable stories. They don't want to hear things that they can't relate to. Like, a lot of women can't relate to the things Kevin Samuels are saying, maybe because they're not living that type of lifestyle, or the things he's saying they haven't experienced. They probably didn't have a problem getting a high value man, like all those types of things. Or flat out, he's saying certain things that apply to a lot of women, but he's drawing up conclusions that are false. He's drawing up conclusions that are false. So, he's not well liked by a lot of women. He's not well liked at all. Let me see what you guys are saying. Oh, SZA just called in. Hey, SZA, can you hear me?
It's Suzanne. I'm back.
Shazam, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, girl. I was like reading my articles. Tell me what you think about the topic.
Well, I mean, when you're looking at it from a marketing perspective, women are the consumers of the household in general. So when you look at, let's call them the picket fencers, right? In general, right? When you have the man going out and doing their traditional role, which would be bringing in the money and everything, it's a full-time job to run the household. That's i.e. anything medical, legal, political, yada, 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 right? So you have a lot of ad companies that are honing in on what women want to see. They pay attention to it a lot more than what the guys want, because usually when a guy buys something, it's on the advice of their wife or their significant other, because we're looking for those little details that need to be known, right? So it's crazy that you see people complain about, you know, a new talk show host, or oh well, they're those women are getting switched out, ha ha ha. It's crazy. Yeah, obviously, because you have a new demographic coming up. You know, you have a whole set of women that are now becoming new moms, and want to know how to clean the household, but they're still referring to their aunties and their mothers and their grandmothers and all that stuff. And you don't have a whole lot of guys that have that same support system. So, I mean, I guess when you're talking about women as a consumership, yes, we are the primary consumers because we're the ones that get the paycheck. We handle the finances and the budgeting. We handle kids' soccer. We handle the medical stuff. We're the ones that read the paperwork. We read the books to find out the correct diet to be on. You know, it's crazy
Yeah.
how um, even being somebody that's out there dating, uh, I can ask the simple questions. Do you have hobbies? These guys
Mhm.
have no hobbies, excuse me, majority, not the ones that I'm seeing. Um, but it's a percentage game. But I know like 80% of them are not going to have hobbies, which means you have no interest, which means you have no passion about things. Are you reading any books? Is, is there any kind of, are you into nonfiction, fiction? I don't even think they understand the difference. So most of them don't even understand the difference. It's crazy to think that, me as somebody that's 30 plus, trying to talk to another person that's 30 plus, you cannot provide me with any new information. And there's not a reciprocal benefit in the relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mhm.
So, if you can't sit down and read a book for enjoyment, how do I know you're going to go throughout the insurance document? You know what I mean? I mean, there's certain things that we look at as women that men are not going to look for. It's kind of like you gain that partner, and even in my past marriage, I handled most of the house things. I gave the up to date stuff. It sounds like being a secretary, but you're the boss of the house. That's why people always joke, oh, my wife's the boss of the house. I don't even ask questions there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Women are, we have a lot of consumer power, which is why our voices, it's going to be heard. It's going to get louder. There's going to be new women coming in with their new shows, with their different perspectives. Um, and the men who are at the top, like the ones who are really at the top of the corporate, stuff of these media companies, they're gonna they're going to allow it. They're not going to step in because they don't have the influence and the inspirational values that women have.
Well, even black women, I'll speak as a black woman that's, I
Hmm.
guess, a low percentage in my neighborhood, right?
Hmm.
And I'm looking at estate sales and everything, and getting my licensing and everything. But just speaking with the people that I know in my community, they're willing to buy a house from me because they know that I'm not about that bull. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you what you can do with the property. I'm going to tell you the value of it, and you know they like that. They like the trustworthiness. You know, if even if you might have that normal stereotype of, oh, she's mean or she's blah blah blah. No, I've had quite a bit of non black people um pretty much fight in my benefit because they're like, no, she's telling the truth. This is what it is. Here's the budget, you know. And I guess I feel more secure in this space because um I don't have to worry about the incel part of it, or I don't have to worry about whether I'm getting, back talk just because of simple power struggle. If I'm sitting at a meeting, it's usually, unfortunately, the males that look like me that are doing it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate because anything I go on YouTube or even like Clubhouse where there's black men there, it's all the same things talking about black women, what we're wearing, the standards that we have, which are completely like normal amongst a lot of women. And it's unfortunate. They have nothing else better to talk about. They don't know how to compete. They don't know how to lead and get to the top. And the result is their voices are not going to be heard or taken seriously.
Yeah. I mean,
Uppity, you said, have you ever heard of Cassie West, white woman who defended the average at best girl against? I have heard of her, and dang, I think she stopped making videos. She said, I think she got like demonetized or something, so she wasn't making a lot of videos. But I have heard of her, and I really loved her videos, and she was spot on. Her and her husband did something. Like her husband was also making videos responding to Kevin Samuels. So that, yeah, I love her channel
well, I
for
mean,
sure.
it's crazy because they say that, right? But, we go out, we got the hair done, we go to the gym, we go, you know, and elevate our mindset, and we get more spiritual. But I tell you, if I walk outside on a normal, tomorrow I'll walk outside and there's a lot of averaged at best ladies out there. I'm not knocking them, people are into what they're into, but they are not doing all the things that we do as far as black women, you know what I mean? They're walking their dogs and taking their kids to school and, um, getting where they need to be. And even if they decide to, you know, sorry, my kid. Yeah, dude. On the phone. Yes, I'm on the phone. Um, yeah. So there's a lot of average at best women out here that are doing their daggone thing, and I guarantee you, when their husband comes home and they're doing the day to day brief, they don't question them. Why? Because they've sat there and they made the schedule. They made their husband's schedule. They've put in the work in the house.
Right, like
What's happening during the weekend, what music is relevant. you
yeah,
know
they're
I
doing
mean,
everything that they're supposed to do. So, those husbands don't feel the need to bother them and question them. And that's kind of like how it is in media with these women having their shows. They're doing what they're supposed to do, they're speaking their truth. And that's why the men at the top, they're not going to have a problem with it. They're not going to see it as an issue like the men who are here online on YouTube and they're sign up for free podcasts who have so much to say. Those are the men who are always going to be the only ones complaining because, well,
well, it's
they're the
crazy
ones, they're
because
also giving the ones something the woman can talk about.
people never look at the fact that your local news, or the Good Morning America has those runway segments, or how to apply your makeup for the summer, or what wine pairing is adequate for the summertime. Those are the moms that are doing that. You know what I mean? Gas
Right.
prices are going up. Who do you think is going to be checking the budget and make sure that the road trip is not going to stop? That's us. you know who's going to be making sure that you know the kids get fed? And I mean, even as a single mother, I do that. But I tell you, it's a whole second job, you know, to have my career and then also do what needs to be done. I mean, guys don't want to do that. I mean, my son's father for a long time, quote unquote, was trying to co-parent, and still to this day can't tell me half the stuff that's not even half, a quarter of the stuff that needs to be done for my son's weekly schedule. So you're not fooling anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I don't know. It's just interesting hearing what these men think is going to happen when something happens to a woman. She gets her show canceled, or a woman goes through a divorce, and they just always have to say some kind of gotcha, but they have no real idea what they're talking about, and they look foolish because women's voices are never going to stop. Women are always going to be able to get into relationships, and they're always going to be able to get a man. Like, getting a man is not difficult, it's not hard. It's just getting the one that you want, the one that you
Yeah,
like,
the
even
one that
like that.
reaches all the
Getting
part. It's like you're like,
yeah.
oh, well, how long you been single? And it's like, well, yeah, I've been single for a while by choice, because who wants to deal with the headache of the average guy, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's
You know,
always
it's not
by
the average Joe
choice.
that does his job, goes to work, participates in hobbies, does that's the guy that I'm looking for, the guy that wants to come
Yeah,
in and,
and
you know,
those guys are very few because, well, they're on here. It's like coming on YouTube to talk about women is their hobby. Like it's not it's not a
oh my
real
goodness.
it's not a real hobby, and it's like it's not hard for a woman to be with someone. Like it's actually the complete opposite. Women are pressured to be with someone, to have babies and to be married. It's the complete opposite.
I
So,
mean, let's be honest. I can go out on a Wednesday night, accept a Tinder invite, and get a baby within a
yeah,
week or
I
two. It's
mean,
not that damn hard.
and
Come
no,
on.
you don't have to be a size 2 to do it. Like
Oh, I'm not a size two. I'm
you can
happy.
be
I'm
any
happy for
you
it.
can be any size and you can get a man. So the things that they talk about on here, when the men do use their voices, it's completely out of touch with reality, and that's why it's really not marketable to the mass because it's not relatable. It's fantasy. It's men who barely go out. It's men who don't have any hobbies, who haven't finished school, or they're just not very intellectual. They don't read anything. Like it's men who are out of touch, who are the social rejects, and that's why what they have to say will never become mainstream. And male talk shows aren't gonna they're not gonna last. Like there is no unless he's a man that has some kind of expertise like Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, or he's appealing to women in some kind of way like Steve Harvey. Those are the only types of men that are gonna last. But a man going mainstream, having manosphere talking points, lasting, no,
I'm
that's
gonna
not
be
happening.
honest. Like the only guy that I would probably like, even online, that I probably listen to the most, and I mean, I don't think he would. Well, I guess he's technically mainstream because everybody tried to hate on him for a long. It's Jordan Peterson. I know people knock
Well,
knock it.
Jordan Peterson is a man that has an expertise, so
Yeah, you
he's
know,
an
because
educated
it's
man.
actually driving you to have some sort of an intellectual
Yeah.
comprehension
He's
on another
educated and
level.
he's an author. He writes books. So he would fall in line with people that are like Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz cuz he's an academic man. So he's a man that could be in the media and last. I mean, he has been in the media. He's an author and all that, and he has lasted, and people are still discovering him and learning him and clinging on to him. So it's people like Kevin Samuels that don't
Oh
have
yeah,
an
that's not even a.
expertise. They're self-proclaimed, and they just have the gift of gab. Those guys aren't lasting. Like they're
And
not.
it's crazy because I don't think he understands that other people are watching his, you know, they're watching his things, and they might have their little guilty pleasure of wanting to see people getting downed in general. I think we all have that Jerry Springer, I guess, uh, uh, talking points that we want to listen to, and
Yeah.
or stereotypical things, boxes that we want to place people in. But then you go out in the real world, and you know, your supervising manager is a black woman, and she's not speaking like those stereotypes. I mean,
Hmm.
somebody, as somebody in the military, you know, at times it's been like, oh well, you're not like those other ones, and I'm like, what other ones? What are you talking about, my dude? Like, don't
Right.
come
And
at me with that. Like,
the women who are educated, the black women who are educated and have their PhDs, and they talk about them so much in that space, but those are the women that have the network and the access to
you don't
published
even have to have a
writings.
PhD nowadays. I'm
Yeah, that
running
too.
off a trade.
You don't have to have a PhD, but people will, really look at, like, if you're a person with a PhD on your name, like people will look at you like, "Oh, she has her PhD." And but particularly them, they do have access to people who are in these networks. I mean, the lady who's writing about what is it? The black femicide stuff, and she the or not the black well yeah the black femicide in the documentary, and she interviewed Lexus Exodus, or she like called Lexus Exodus. That black woman has her PhD. She didn't want to reveal her identity, but the fact that she's educated, like educated people, and having an education, it does give you keys to certain areas, and it does, you
Oh,
know
most definitely the networking
sometimes, yeah, but today
level
you
just
don't.
Yeah.
yeah, the networking level is there. But today, if you're, I mean, Kevin Samuels, like, ugh, he doesn't have a career in anything. People are saying he didn't even finish college and he has 1 million subscribers. So, he's proof you don't need to have an expertise to gain numbers, but he is not proof that you don't need to have expertise and you can hit like a
What
mainstream
channel was it
publication.
though that called him out on the fact that, like, I think it was like peanut butter and vegetables or something like that, the poor man's podcast or something like that. I called him out on the fact that, like,
I
there
have
was a
no
whole
idea.
like business owner meeting where they're talking on Zoom and they're talking about how Kevin Samuels is to come in and, purchase stuff and then return it, and he got called out for it, and,
Really?
return burnt candles and stuff like that. It's like, okay, and this is how you guys are, this is who y'all are taking your information from. Like, this is who's building y'all up. Like, y'all really need Jesus, seriously. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous, the amount of faith that y'all put into somebody that has no faith in y'all. If I don't sit there on a manosphere video, which I rarely do, and hear somebody talk about, well, what about those super chats? Give me the super chats, send the money over, and blah blah blah. And it's like, this sounds like an infomercial, know, with the
Yeah.
commercial breaks of, well, yeah, if you want to hear something, you want me to talk about this, you better send
They
that
all they
super chat
care
money
about is
over.
money.
You
And the
don't even
main
see that on the female side of
yeah,
things,
on the female side, like who are the big we already know Cynthia G,
Chrissy,
Chrissy, Pink Pill,
Pink Pill,
Paris
yeah.
Milan, like they
Even
never talk about
who is it?
money.
The Theus and Thoth, Themis and Thoth, you
Yeah, he
know.
never talks about money. DZ doesn't talk about money. And they make numbers every time they go live and they never talk about money. Like they don't care. And well, a major reason for it, I believe, is because they're protected and probably provided for.
Well, no, they
So,
provide for themselves. All of
and they
those
provide
people
they
still
provide
work.
for themselves. Exactly. They still have jobs. I know Chrissy says she still has her job and
Yeah, Chrissy, Lexus
they don't.
Exodus might have a,
Yeah,
she might be in a
ex-Lexus.
hypergamous relationship, but she still has her job.
Hmm.
You
They're either
know,
being provided for or they're providing for themselves or both.
yeah,
And these men on here, they don't have that. So this is like their bread and butter.
yeah.
Themis will
Uh,
actually ask you not to give him money. Yeah, I love Themis. He's so sweet and I love his perspectives. But it's like,
but
the
them
people
podcasts be long though. He be having 6 hour long. But like, I got a job, bro.
yeah, and but
I mean, I
that
like it,
just
but I got to do it in sections.
right. He loves what he does, and that just goes to show that there's so many creators in this space that genuinely enjoy creating and uplifting Black women and young Black women who don't know any better and learning from older Black women that have been through things. Like this space is for that and for that only. If we happen to make money, cool. If we don't, cool. Like it's not it's not like it's not a thing for us because we all still have lives outside of this. And for the men, it goes to show how much they actually don't have a life outside of this because they depend so much on the chump change. And even with super chats, from what I've heard of other creators, YouTube takes a good portion out of them anyway. So that
Oh my goodness.
by the time these creators actually get the super chats, it's nowhere near the
Yeah.
real amount it should be. And I think it's like 2 or 3 months later after you give someone a super chat, they get it like 3 months later or something
Well,
like
they're
that.
scrounging for. I mean, look at
Yeah.
the normal household. You go with like a bachelor house, right? We talk about air mattress mandingos, right? That's literally the only thing that they have in their space, right? While you have the woman that's gonna take time to look at their space or what they're buying, figure out how to put it, to a point where they can feel comfortable in that space. I mean, the consumership is apparent just by walking into the different sexes' homes. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like, I mean, but listening to the same subject of you bashing a woman and not being able to clarify, okay, well, you might have, I don't know, the what is it, fresh and fit, whatever that might
Hmm.
talk about investment and have it, you know, might go viral on that instance, but you're soon your subject matter is not even going to be dealing with you anymore. So what are you going to talk about then? Because I tell you right now, straight up divested. So like I don't even want to hear it. Like unless you hold in the coins, I don't want to hear about it. Like unless you're about to get me a deal, sir, there will be no dinner. No, thank you.
Right, exactly. And the thing about the what's his name from Fresh and Fit, the lighter skin one, I think before he started his podcast, he um he was a federal agent. He was in the FBI.
I think that's a
So,
whole conspiracy in and of itself because
and he actually has another channel where he talks about like crime and stuff like that. It's nowhere near as big as his Fresh and Fit stuff, but he only talks about like crime stories and defense tactics and all this stuff that he learned while in the FBI. It's a very small channel. I think he only has like, I don't know, like 20,000 subscribers. I mean, compared to his real channel. So, the fact
well,
that he
again,
had
you
that,
even have to look at the where he's coming from. He's coming from being college educated. All those little gay photos that
yeah.
came up on the internet, that's him with his, you know,
And that's
Chads
the
and
thing is that
Tylers that
That's the
he was
thing is that
hanging with.
he could have remained in that field, maybe even excelled a little bit more. I don't know if he has a master's or what.
Who's to say he's not in that field?
I don't know, whatever. Hypothetically, allegedly, if he is, allegedly, if he really was in that field, he could have stuck with it, and he could have easily became a man of expertise to base get his media brand off of that. Like there aren't a lot of FBI agents that are very popular that I know of, that talk about stuff that they probably learned in defense tactics. Like these men could be in the media and have a voice if they use their expertise, like Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil. Like if they actually stuck to a purpose and stuck to something they actually like, they could make money off of that. But instead, they just want to give it all up and go to what feels good, feeling feminine, and talk about women all day and talk about how they're the man and prop themselves up. But it's like they're going off of what feels good and what's making them money instead of off of what they actually like to do, off of what's right for them to do and make money off of that. So,
Well, the good news is it's still going back into BWE space because most of them are paying up their child support, just like Uncle Samuel's.
that's true too. I think he just paid his child support what, a year ago or something
Yeah,
for
he
his
finally got
daughter.
that done.
It probably
To
all went
his
to his daughter.
his PhD holding wife or ex-wife, right?
Ex-wife who's remarried, by the way. Like
Mm,
she's not still single like him having issues. She's remarried. So,
yeah.
hey, it is what it is, but these men want to complain about their voices not being heard. They're talking about the wrong things in the first place. They're talking about things that aren't relatable at all. I mean, if he wanted, say that Fresh and Fit guy, if he really was a federal agent and he wanted to make that his field of where he wants to share his expertise and have a media brand off of that, that would be more interesting. That he probably could help a lot of women by teaching them defense and all these things and things about the law to how to protect themselves. Just if he was just a new guy on the scene, he had no Fresh and Fit, anything never even happened, and he just automatically went into criminal justice and stuff like that, and made his message relatable to everyone. He would get popular. I know a lot of women that would want to hear about defense and how. I mean, women in their own spaces talk about stuff like that, so
Hmm.
it would be cool to have a man who's on the side of protecting women and using his expertise to appeal to women in that way. Like like these men just don't think. I don't think they use their brains, and instead they want to
Oh, they use their brains. They go to the
well, yeah.
easiest target, more easily fooled target. Because I know as a consumer, I'm not going to invest my money into somebody that's not giving something in return. As far as you know, uh, I'm not saying I don't donate to channels, but these are the
I'm definitely
intellectual
not
channels that are
I'm
out
definitely
there
not
trying.
giving my money to a channel that tells men how to sleep with me for the free or for super easy. Hell no.
Oh my goodness, yeah, like I mean, we're the salaries. Like we are the ones with the salaries. You got people, in here cashing their check at Western Union that you're trying to appeal to instead of the salary people.
Right.
I mean, you need to get that straight because we're the ones with the benefits and the investment plans. And you're incorrect, sir. But okay, you want to talk about that? That's fine. But again, we're not going to be consuming that product for very long, even if it's entertaining. Even you know, uh, speaking on non-black people, it makes them uncomfortable. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it does. They
It's
can't
going to
relate.
make them uncomfortable. If I sat down in a room of people that are here for one specific thing and brought up my black struggle, and it's not to say it doesn't come up, but that's in a private setting. In a professional
Yeah.
level, nobody's going to be playing that in their waiting room. Like,
I mean,
nobody's
yeah,
going to be sitting there talking. It makes people uncomfortable, and you have to know when to switch code. And that's not the
mhm.
time. Nobody's going to be listening to that on daytime television. Even when Oprah did it, it was there was a delicacy to that, or a delicateness to that, and it was like maybe having one toe in the pool or in the pond of what's going on behind the scenes. But you're not going to sit here and tell me that people are gonna just pay money on network television to have somebody come up and bash everybody else. Like,
No, they're
really?
not. They're not, especially if that person, um, they refuse to admit the things that they do wrong. They want to play mental gymnastics on other people. No one's going to see that. I mean, it could be borderline mental and emotional abuse, and there's no way that that's going to sell to women who suffer from that a lot. It's going to trigger women. They're going to protest, and they're just not going to consume, and they're not going to make any money off of it.
I mean, and Gen Z is not about that life. They got too
No.
many TikToks out here, like, don't even try.
No, the young girls on TikTok, they're out here like they are not playing around. They're not dealing with no dusty crazy men. Like they're all all the girl. I don't know if it's just my algorithm or what, but anytime I see a young black girl being romantic with anyone, her boyfriend, her man, the guy is just not black. He's not black at all, and they have no shame. No shame. One comment said
Why
that
should they? Shoot, as a person
exactly.
that grew up in a white neighborhood in the 90s when there definitely was race, we were the first to move into the neighborhood. We got the car broken into. It's like, hold on a second. I thought we were supposed to be the ones breaking into people's stuff. Like they were mad when we
Right.
moved in. But I mean, I don't feel ashamed about it. I still have guys, white guys ask me, "Oh, do you date white guys?" And I'm like, it's like, seriously? Like, I'm literally having a conversation with you right now. So that's not even a thing. It's 2022, sir. Really? Do you have to ask that question? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Exactly. And in the last live, I was talking more so about the image of Black women and where all these movements like divestment and Black women promoting interracial dating, other races of men are going to be able to see all this stuff online. So, they'll, whatever it is, they'll think about it. But one thing they'll know for sure is that Black women are definitely interested in dating out. And it's going
Well,
to,
also not the problem and
yeah.
not the stereotype.
Yeah, and it's gonna make a lot of these men feel confident to approach black women because that's really the main issue. It's not that these men weren't attracted to black women or wanted to be with one. They just thought that black women didn't want them, so they wouldn't even bother to approach. But all of this stuff going on online of black women on TikTok and all these things, that's gonna change that perspective for a lot of men. That
Mm-hmm.
a lot of men, period, are gonna start saying that black women, there are black women, a lot of them that want to be in relationships and want to have genuine connections no matter your color, and especially and particularly black women that prefer to just have men of different cultures anyway. And that's going to say a lot. I mean, I know they say the swirling and divestment has been around, but I
Oh
really
yeah,
think
it's been around forever.
it's been around, right? But
I
I
don't want to
think
say
today,
forever, but I
yeah,
mean,
I think today it's very, very popular today. um
I think it's just
yeah.
one. I guess it's something that people are allowed to be proud of now. or
Mm-hmm.
starting to be allowed to be proud of. And, you know, it's taboo to act like you're better than somebody for color purposes, at least in Gen Pop. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's just
Damn, it says, what is 4chan? I don't know what that is either. What is 4chan? I just heard degrading black women means came from there.
what?
I don't know what 4chan is, actually. I think someone else mentioned that in the chat. I had no idea what that is.
Yeah, I'll have to look that one up.
The real white manosphere is 4chan? I have no clue. No idea. What's
I'll Google
4chan?
it.
Yeah, that's something I would have to figure out. But um
All right. Well,
let
I'm
me
gonna
see.
head to bed. It was nice talking to
Yeah, thank you ladies for joining in. I'm gonna go ahead and close out.
you.
Almost 2 hours. Thank you ladies so much for watching. Make sure to like the video if you haven't already, and subscribe if you're a first time listener. But yeah, ladies, I just wanted to talk about this. Your voice is going to get louder. We're going to see more women speaking out about these things that are happening on the internet, because a lot of women, I know all these spaces have been around, but a lot of women are coming onto them for the first time. And so that is going to spark the conversation on how these spaces with men running them are affecting women. And then coupled in with the violence that's happening, incel violence, it's definitely going to be worth a conversation. And even in this article, I'm just going to show it one more time. Even in this article, the incel violence article, the Secret Service released a report. Details of the growing threat of violent attacks toward women from men who call themselves involuntary celibates or incels. The 26-page report was published by the Secret Service's National Threat Assessment Center and focuses on deadly examples of recent incel-related attacks on women. So they have been looking at this space for a while. They've been studying the space and the attacks that men have done towards women in this space. So, you know, more is going to keep coming out, especially if these men keep being violent towards women for literally no reason in the news. They're going to dig deep and find out why. They're going to find out what these violent men are consuming, what type of media they're watching, if they're on any online forums. They're going to investigate all of this stuff, and it's going to prove a lot that this space, this manosphere space, is just not um, it's not productive. It's actually destructive, and this is going to further silence men. It's going to keep them even more silent. And women's voices are going to keep getting louder, especially if more women keep getting taken out by these men, or suffering from any type of self esteem issues, dating experiences, right? The Elle magazine, where her whole article was about how she came across a guy that listened to Kevin Samuels and all that stuff. Like, women are going to talk about this because women consume and women listen to other women. Women are inspirational, and there's really nothing that these men can do about it. So, it is what it is. But that's all I wanted to talk about in this live, ladies. Make sure to like the video. If you haven't, I will leave this live up. So if you're catching the replay, make sure to like the video. And I will talk to you ladies later. Have a nice evening.